did you enter the service?
At 19.
And you were still in high school, is that correct?
No.
Oh, you weren't?
No, my father had a bad heart, and I had to stop and help support the family. So I couldn't go to school anymore, see? And then I got a job down to Union Fork and Hoe. And I was a lathe operator making scabbard catches for the bayonets. And then I went down and enlisted in the Navy on November 30th, and they put me on standby. And 2 different times it happened that way, that they called me to go. And then when I got down to Utica, they said their quota was full, so they sent me back home on inactive duty. And then I think it was December 8th or 10th or whatever it was, I'm not sure. I got in on the next quota there, and they took us down to Albany and swore us in, physical, and swore us in. And they took us to Newport, Rhode Island for my boot camp. And they'd get us up 4 o'clock in the morning and put our swimming trunks on, even in the wintertime there. Run the streets and get over to the swimming pool, jump in one end and out the other, and go in and take a shower, and then you go get your chow. And then in the early part of February, maybe a little bit before, I forgot, they took us to Brooklyn Navy Yard, Brooklyn Armed Guard Center, 52nd and 1st Ave. That's where they put me in the Armed Guard, which is to protect the merchant ships. And we had a 3-inch 50 forward and 220 millimeters. These are aircraft, for the aircraft, the guns. 220 millimeters on each side of the bridge, up each side of the bow. Then they had 420 millimeters, 2 on the front and 2 on the back of the bridge. They had 220 millimeters on the stern and a 5-inch 38 on the stern, in between those 20 millimeters here. And that was for the submarine surface gun, with projectiles and 2 or 3 bags of powder. And they sent us down to Little Creek, Virginia, to gunnery school down there, on these guns, how to tear them apart and take care of them and everything, fire them. Then they sent us back up to Brooklyn, and then they took us out to Montauk Point, out on Long Island, and an airplane had a bag behind it, a stream behind it, and we would fire at that. It trailed a target for us. And then we went to Brooklyn Armed Guard Center again. And they would, an officer would come down. Then they'd call our names out to, and then there was a Lieutenant J.G. down there in the Navy that, come on over here, boys, and stand behind us. So we did. And that's how they got the crew for the ships. Now, that Lieutenant J.G., he was in command. There was 32 Navy men aboard a merchant marine ship, the Liberty ship. And they all took us by bus to wherever we had to catch the ships. And so the next morning, after we got our crew all together, they said they were going to sleep there overnight. And at 10 minutes of 4 in the morning, or 4 o'clock, they said that you guys get down in front in 10 minutes. So you had to pack all your stuff, hammock, sea bag, and everything. And just throw your clothes on and get down there, and they told you to throw your hammock and sea bag in the truck. And then we got in a bus, and we went over to Bethlehem Steel Dry Dock at Staten Island. And we went over to Bethlehem Steel Dry Dock at Staten Island. Got aboard the ship, the SS Gulfwing, a tanker, oil tanker. And we were there, I think, pretty near a week before we ever hit the water, before they got it repaired. Then they put it in the water. And then the next morning we took off for Bayonne, New Jersey, and filled up with oil. And we went to Swansea, South Wales, Swansea, South Wales. And the first 2 trips was to Swansea, South Wales. And as we were coming in the first time, the Germans were bombing Cardiff. It's a village just a little ways away. You could see the V-2 bombs blasting it right out of existence. And then we come back, and they put me on another ship. Let's see. Well, it's right here, the SS Frederick Newelly. And by that time, I had become friends with with a buddy that was a signalman on board. And so when I got back the second time, they sent me to signal school, right in Brooklyn there. And from then on, I was a signalman. I blinked the lights, put the flags up, rendezvous flags and all like that.
Like with the Morse code to communicate?
Yeah, da did it.
Yeah.
Da did it, da, yeah. You never forget it. I don't know why. Well, anyways, we went over to Scotland and Ireland, and then we came back, and then we got the SS Waller Camp. Then we got the SS Waller Camp, and we had train engines tied to the deck, and all different stuff, jeeps, everything you could think of. And the holes were all filled, and we come out of New York and went through into the Mediterranean, and at the island of Crete, the Germans come out with airplanes with a 109 Messerschmitt and bombed the devil out of us about 4 o'clock in the morning one morning. And at that time, there was a tracer, so you could tell where your projector was going, and tracer would go up, and you're not shooting too far ahead, or you're behind the target, the airplane. And there was, I think they said about 130 ships in the convoy, and they bombed the ship right on our port side. They got that one. And those tracers, there were so many of them, so many ships, so many tracers, that you could have read a newspaper and it was dead dark out. But there were so many. Every third or fourth was a tracer. And then we went through the canal, the Suez Canal, and when we were in the Red Sea, it was about 121 degrees. Oh, it was hotter than the sun of God. And we took an old oil barrel and punched holes in it and hooked it up and hoisted it up and put the fire hose in there and stood under it with our swimming trunks on. And so we come along, get out of the canal, Suez Canal, and we were going along. And then the ships parted for every which way, and we were traveling all alone. And I had the 8 to 12 watch that night. And when I got through, I run down and jumped in the shower and just put a pair of shorts on and run to my bunk, and I was on the second bunk up. My bunk must have been about like this high, and there's one here. And I jumped in bed and fell asleep. And then when that torpedo hit, I can remember going up and hitting my girlfriend's picture at that time, up at the bulkhead, and I come down, and I landed right flat on that cement floor like it was. Never hurt me a bit. I just jumped up, grabbed my pants, put it on. By that time, the ship had went 30 degrees. There's 3 holes up to the bridge that holds cargo, and they hit just ahead of the bridge, just ahead of the engine room, number 3 hole, and number 2 hole filled up then. Then they hit us on the port side in the engine room. Or, yeah, I think it was in the engine room. And at that time, the ship went down in 2 minutes. Now, I was a signalman at that time, and I had to have an emergency light with me to send. I had to be with the captain, and that's why I was on the same life raft with him. And all the top men of the ship were on that. There was, I think, 7 or 8 of us. I'm not sure. And so, you know, after 3 days not having nothing and sitting up, you couldn't lay down to sleep. There wasn't room. So this British PBY come along, and it had a great big balloon window in the front, just like a helicopter, you know. They were search and get the people off the rafts and like that. That was their job. And I said to the captain, any message? And he says, name of the ship and our destination. And that's all I could give him. And then he said that he would circle until he got low on fuel, and he would go back in, but he'd be out the next morning. And so that next morning it came. That was the 5th day. And I got it all right here in case you're... And boy, we saw a periscope coming right from the west, or from the east. God, we were petrified. We thought sure as heck they were there to kill us. But then I heard something, and I see the PBY up there. And he told us that this HMS Daney, a British light cruiser, was coming to pick us up, and it should be in sight. Well, boy, what a relief that was, I'll tell you. I think that's about the only time I ever got scared. But I was scared, buddy, because you had no guns, no nothing. And we'd try to take one guy and put him in the water to see if the water would go in his pores and give him some water, you know, because salt water you can't drink. And then sharks get around, then we had to pull them out. And they were around us most of the time, too. And so then I got a message from the ship that said that we will circle for an hour. And they've got to have those radars on and really search to make somebody isn't just sitting there. See, a lot of times a submarine, they will just stand off and watch you. And when somebody comes to rescue you, they'll get that ship too, see. So they said that we'll approach in 1 hour. We have 1 minute to be dead in the water. After that, we have to take off if you aren't aboard. So they went around and around and around. First I see them then cutting in and cutting in. They come in and they stopped. and threw a cargo net over the side, and we run like hell to get up there. And some of the men were too weak, you know. We were young kids, eh? But a lot of the merchant marine, you know, they were 40, 50, 60 years old or better. So we had to carry two or three of them up. And when we got up there, they gave us tea. Boy, their tea was wonderful. And I'll never forget the pot it come in. That pot must have been that big around, and it come right up with a spigot on it. And on the bottom it had little hooks like this, and all coffee or teacups all the way around it, metal ones. And their tea was wonderful. But they give us soggy bread and mutton and stewed tomatoes. Oh my God, if I was in good condition, I wouldn't eat any of that anyways. Oh, that was terrible, awful stuff. Awful stuff. Well, anyways, they took us to Aden, Arabia on that ship. And they give me Air Force uniform because I didn't have nothing but pants on, see. So we got there, and the next day a hospital ship came and took us aboard and took us to 38th General Hospital in Cairo, Egypt. They had the Army emergency vehicles there, the Army Corps, and they put us in their ambulances and took us to 38th General Hospital in Cairo, Egypt. And from there, I was in there for 13 days, I guess it was, in the hospital. And nowadays, they got that little tiny thing that they whoop your back with. I swear that one they put up you. Oh my God. But anyways, they sent us gonna send us to Port Said, Egypt, to get a ship back. And this one picture that I had. This picture right here is when we were standing outside waiting for the train to come. And that's me right here. I was browner than a son of a gun, boy. And this was another young man. I don't know where he was from. But these two guys here were Aussies, Australians. Now there was two Limeys, English, that were there too. We're going to Port Said. And the Limey says, we're going to sit with the Yanks. Well, the Aussie says, like, heck you are. Not quite that kind of tone, you know. And they told them to get lost, and they took off. And so they sat with us. We were always good partners. So this here is, I got to Port Said, and this here is where I was in the Army uniform that they gave me. And I had to wait there until a ship come and picked me up. And the ship that picked me up was the RM Williamson. And it took me to Savannah, Georgia. And this is Hotel Savannah in Georgia. And this is a drum room. See the drum up here for decoration? And this was me right here. Now, I'm not a big drinker. If I have 1 or 2 beers, that's a lot. And when we got back to New York City, I'd run in and get a quart of ice cream and sit down on a stoop and eat it. And this was the other signalman on our ship. He was LaFlame from Florida, and we chummed around together. And these were the engineers and like that on the merchant ship. And this is me right here, number 2. And here's LaFlame, my buddy. And these two guys were off our ship. And this here actually is a photo shoot where you walk along the street down New York City, and they have the table there with the glasses and looked like beer in them. We sat down, they took our picture. But I wasn't any big drinker, I'll tell you that. I wasn't brought up that way. But then they took us to New Orleans to interrogate us and check us for a complete physical. venereal disease or anything. And then they sent us by rail up to Philadelphia. And while we were there, they took us from Philadelphia to Brooklyn Armed Guard Center, 52nd 1st Ave. And I went into a pub there in Philadelphia and ordered a beer, and they refused me because I wasn't 21. Can you believe that? So we got back, and they said, asked me if I wanted to go to rest camp. They interrogated me, and I have different things. Here's see, it says Survivor on the top of it, and that's my issue of my new Navy outfit uniform that they gave me. And then I told them I didn't want to go to a rest camp or anything. I wanted to go home. So they gave me a week off, and I come up here to Rome. And the ticket at that time from New York Central in New York City to Rome was $6.30 a round trip for a serviceman. And so I came up and spent a week with my girlfriend, my future wife, and then I had to go back, and we caught a ship going to Calcutta. Then I had to go back, and we caught a ship going to Calcutta. Well, now they found out, some of the guys found out where it was going. They jumped ship, they wouldn't go, they were afraid. I don't blame them. And we stopped on the Rock of Gibraltar. We went in there 2 or 3 times. And well, I don't know. The boys get to drinking, you know. And then they, oh God, they really, those poor limeys, they took it bad. We'd all get a drink in our hands and get the limeys all lined up and then sing, there'll always be a USA, there'll always be an England as long as there's a USA. And then the bottles flew. Oh, you fought something terrible. I was a boxer at that time, so I could take care of myself pretty well. And we had a golden glove man from that was one of our crew. That was from Pennsylvania, Philadelphia. Boy, he was an awful boxer, I'll tell you. He was a champion, and he was teaching us to box and all like that there, see, on board ship. And he said, okay, I'm gonna. After a while, he's gonna take each one of us in the ring. I'm not gonna throw a punch, he said. I'm just gonna guard myself. Well, this wouldn't get in, and that wouldn't get in, and I said, "Are you sure, Carl? Are you sure?" And he says, "I won't touch you." Well, I happened to get one in on him, and I sat him down. God, he got up, and I don't know what happened. Next time, I remember they were picking me up off the deck. He downed me so quick it's pitiful. But he was, oh boy, he was a professional, you know. And I've always liked boxing, and I'm a violinist. And this right here, probably you don't. Rubinoff, you never heard of Rubinoff, did you? Well, this was at Newport, Rhode Island. I heard that Rubinoff was coming to perform for us. So I got there an hour ahead of time, and I sat right in the front row. Oh, you know Isaac Perlman, Yo-Yo Ma,
yeah,
and all them. Oh, what a fabulous program. His fingers were just like liquid going over the strings. So fast and accurate. So that was one reason why I always liked it. And my mother was a wonderful piano player. She could, like that Castleton, the girl that played all that honky-tonk music on, you know who he is, I can't think of his name. Oh, what the heck's his name there? And a 1, and a 2, and a 3 on a Saturday night. I can't think of his name right now. Well, she played the same kind of music that that girl did. And boy, she'd just make that piano bounce. She was going away. She could play all the blues and jazz and everything. And when she passed away, I was 62, and she left her violin to me that her father gave her in 1913. And I went up to Alice Clemens, up to Osceola, the great fiddler up there, and I took 12 lessons. And she says, go on home and practice. That she could play it twice, and then I'd pick my fiddle up and play it. I played, of course I've always been in music. I sang in the Roll Mill Chorus here in the 50s. And in the 60s I sang with the barbershop chorus of Knights of Mohawk here in Rome. And then I sang with the Utica Crimson Chords. About 100 and some men in the chorus, barbershop chorus. And then in quartets. Music's my passion. I played drums were my first instrument, trombone. I got a beautiful trumpet. I play mandolin, bass, electric bass, and violin. And my son is a drummer in a beautiful country band. And always been, but when I see he was coming, I had to be there. And well, let's see, what else can I tell you?
On the Walter Camp.
Okay, on the Walter Camp.
How many people were aboard ship when the torpedo hit?
68.
68?
Mm-hmm.
How many survived?
I don't know, because we were ordered to scatter. I know one thing, that when we were on the life raft, we could look over and see some on other life rafts, and then the ship just went like that, and therefore you couldn't get some of the lifeboats off. And I seen one lifeboat off to my starboard, and then when the ship went stern down, the bow sticking out, and I seen one of the baker, the guy that done the bacon, in the Merchant Marine part of it. He had this life jacket on and a whistle blowing it as that ship went down. Now, do you realize the suction that ship draws? It'll pull him 200 feet down. He couldn't have survived. But there's no way of knowing, because we had nothing to do with the Merchant Marine. They took care of the ship and we guarded them, as far as that goes. And we was going through the first time I ever seen a jet is I went through the Mediterranean Sea, just before we got to Crete and got bombed there. And this, all of a sudden we heard something go, phew! And we come running up to see what it was, and it was they say it was an English jet. All I seen was something in the distance, that about 10 foot off the water between our ship and the next one. First time I ever seen a jet. But it was moving, boy. Yeah. And one time when I come in to New York Harbor, I got a message from the Liberty thing there, and it said that Franklin Delano Roosevelt had just died from the Statue of Liberty. And the last message I ever took was to proceed to Castle Island Pier 19, Boston. And that was, of course, after quarantine, where you go in. I put the yellow flag up. That's a quarantine flag. And then the pilot would have to come out and take the ship in, because he knew the harbor and everything. And that was the last time I was on a merchant ship. But we had wonderful food. You go down in the chow hall, and they'd say, do you want eggs over light or sunny side up? How many do you want? Do you want pancakes? Do you want bacon and eggs? You want ham? All that. Because see, it wasn't like I was on a carrier. But when you're in the Navy places, like down in Brooklyn, or Brooklyn Navy Yard, or New Orleans, you took a tray and went along and they all slopped that stuff. They always had that, maybe I shouldn't say it there, but they always had shit on a shingle. And that was chicken and something else, peas and something, and put it on toast or rice or something. Oh, I hated that junk. Then one time I was, they found out like I was a bugler. So at Brooklyn there, they wanted me to be a bugler there, and I stayed with it about 3 months. You get sick of it after a while. But they had a bridge in the center there, and I had to sleep there, up there with the commander. And I had a alarm clock under my bunk. And when that went off, I'd turn it off, grab my bugle, and put it back underneath and go back sleep again. Those guys had to get up. There were some good things about it. And then we had a little chief that was in charge of the chow line and like that, and he always had a club with him, you know. And I had to carry that bugle around. And I'd get in the back and I'd get in the line, you know, coming up, and he'd say, "Hey, bugler, get up here." And yeah, I had to come, had to do what he said. They put me right in the front of the line. Boy, I bet those guys hated me. I'd done that for about 3 months and I got sick of it. And I asked for sea duty, so they let me go. Maybe they found somebody else, I hope so. But right now I played my bugle at military funerals. And the 30th I played at 4:30 and at 6:30. I played 4:30 up the American Legion in Camden. They were rededicating their monuments and their flags. And then in the cemetery, when they had their ceremonies down there. And whenever there's, I work for Mark and Robadier in the funeral parlor up there in Camden. And when there is a funeral, military funeral, if they want a bugler, I play that too. What else would you want? Here's all the ships that I was on. I'll leave this with you. There's there's one thing that says a camp carrying 7,000 gross tonnage of cargo was en route to Calcutta, India, from Aden, Arabia. We weren't coming from Aden, Arabia. We passed by it. If you could correct that from New York City to Calcutta. And it tells the German sub, I got it out of a book that tells, anybody can get this book that tells about the merchant ships and all like that, and who sunk it and everything. And here's everything in here. Captain Gunther sank the ship on the 1st to 25th. And the 1st to 30th they picked us up. I'll leave that with you.
Do you have you ever met up with any of your old crewmates since the...
No. Now here's our Christmas program on board the R.M. Williamson. Christmas of 1944. And this missionary came from China, and he was coming back to our country. He's going to Pennsylvania. And this was the Christmas hymns we sang and like that. And they had, I think it was 250 monkeys on board in cages. Oh, dirty, filthy things. They were picking and scratching all the way over. Stink, holy crap. But they brought them back for research. That's what they were for. Boy, we were glad we got off that ship.
Do you have a favorite memory
A favorite memory? Yeah, I had a ball one day. We all was in Bombay, India, and we went in and we drank a little sarsaparilla. And those rickshaw drivers, you know, we'd get in and they'd get up in front and they'd run, you know. And then when they got tired, they'd get back on it. And they'd go like faster. We got to racing them around the block. And when they slowed up, we get $1 out like that. Oh boy, $1, you know, was like 100 to them. And they'd take off again. Short patrol comes, says, we're going to put you in the brig if you do that again. But we had a lot of good memories. And especially coming into Scotland, not seen any land in a long time. And here was this, by Glasgow, this great big beautiful green mountain, all the green grass and the white goats or whatever they were on there. It was beautiful. And we dropped anchor at Gorak, Scotland, Twin Villages they call them. And we all piled, about 6 of us piled in one of those small taxi cabs and took a ride into Glasgow. And Scotland is a very clean, beautiful place. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, we had a good time there, yeah, yeah.
To go back a little, what were your like everyday duties? Like you get up and like when you were on patrol on the ship. Like
when we were out on the ship, you could sleep anytime you wanted to. Say if after the second ship, I really had it good. My duties were just to stand by the light and the flag bag on the port side. And when there was a message, then I would accept it, write it down, and take it into the captain and let him decode it, see? Like if it's a rendezvous one or anything. And that would be my duty from 8 to 12. And then I would, I could go get something to eat. I could sit around and shoot the bull with the boys or like that, or I could go sleep. Anything we wanted to do. We had to clean our own clothes. There was nothing on board. There was, after 3 or 4 days out, we had no more milk. We had nothing. And just for what they gave us to eat there. And one guy, he was going to, he wasn't going to scrub his pants, his dungarees. What are you going to do? I'm going to tie it to a rope and put it over the back, over the stern. Let it go for about an hour, be all clean, and clean them right up. Well, he forgot about it, and the next morning he thought of it, and he went there, and all there was a little twig hanging there. All that water, pulled it all apart. Pulled it all apart. But there wasn't, you know, we exercised, and as I say, when we had that Golden Glove boy on, he make us do push-ups and run around the deck, and oh, cripe's sakes, all that stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Do you have any other memories or anything else? Because after this, we'll go like what you did after for a little while.
Well, we kind of stole the little oranges out of the cooler, put them under our bunk, and we went on Liberty and put them in a suitcase and went by a school, and the kids were all out for recess, and we opened it up and threw an orange at one of the kids, tossed it to him, you know, and boy, he come over and thanked us, and all the kids come, about, you know, like 20, 25, 20 probably. We gave each one of them an orange, and he took it in and showed the teacher, and she come running out. Said she hadn't seen an orange in 4 years. And so we gave her 2 oranges.
Where was this at?
In Swansea, South Wales, on our second trip there. Yeah, yeah. And we had the ordinary thing of over when you're in England, your fish and chips in a newspaper, and they were really good, yeah.
Did you enjoy the traveling a lot?
Yes, I did, yes. And when we went to Sudan, I got my permit here to go ashore, and they were, I don't know what you call them, but they were 6.5, 7 foot tall men and women. And they'd have like a staff, and they'd stand there and they'd jump up and down.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. They'd jump up that far off the ground. I can't believe it, you know. I can't get 3 inches hardly. Well, I probably could at that time. I was in good shape. But it was wonderful. You've seen everything. Calcutta, India, honest to God, the dirtiest, filthiest, rottenest place in the world. Every morning they took a truck and went along the streets and picked up the dead. It was that bad. It would just tear your heart apart when you see those little babies and the mother. They lay right down by the side of the road. The next morning they pick them up dead. No food, no nothing. And then I had one delightful day. We were walking and we happened to get into a different section. And the grass was all green, and it had a great big brick house there. And we was walking by, and I heard somebody play a trumpet, and I knew who it was. Who do you think it was? Satchmo. Do you know Satchmo? Okay. Man, could that man play. Oh, I would love to see him play. Boy, he puts on a concert, boy.
Where'd you hear that? Where is this?
Over there, and then back down New York City. We went into, I forgot the name of the place in New York City. And the bar was here, and tables here, and over here, there was a shelf there that was about the width of this table, and all on that side. And he was up there, and Jimmy Dorsey. Now to me, they're my heroes, because music is everything to me. And hear those guys playing, oh my God. And they could slur a note, you know, just bend that note. And who's the other trumpet player that's so good? Marcellus?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Fabulous. Yeah, Harry James. I was always music, yeah.
Did you play aboard ship a lot, or were you allowed to bring the trumpets? And,
We couldn't take them with us. No. I had a beautiful trumpet. Oh, beautiful trumpet. I bought it before World War II, and I paid a good price for it then. It was well worth over $1,000 when, you know, after the war, after a while, in the 50s, you know. Yeah. Yeah.
So, when did you leave the service? Did it like got out?
November the 20th of '45. I got discharged from Sampson Naval Base, and well, in June of '45, they took 250 of us signalmen, took us down to New Jersey, got us on the train, and went over to California, Hayward, California. That's this side of the bridge. And to Camp Shoemaker, California. And they got us over there, and there they had another big building for the servicemen to go into, sleep overnight, a regular barracks, you know, but they were 6 bunks high. And that was a pool to get the men to get on the ships to go over in the Pacific. Well, they looked at my record and they said, no way, you got too many points, we can't ship you out. So I played pool 8 hours a day over there. I love to play pool. So I had it really easy over there. And then they found out I was there. And they said, what can you do? And I says, what do you need done? Well, says, we need truck drivers. Yeah, says, I drove tractor trailer before I went in. And I drove a truck for down here for Millville's Tent and Awning Company before I went in the service. So they gave me a truck and says, go over and get 4 or 5 of those rookies and go down the streets and have them dump the trash cans in the back and go out and take it out to the dump. We done that. We get out there and we play cards for an hour, come back and fill it out. Oh, it was hard work, boy. Yeah, I had a good time in the service. But some guys said they didn't. But everything to me was an adventure. It was a lot of fun, personally. Yeah.
In conclusion, if you could go back and do it again, would you?
In a minute.
Would you change anything, or would you?
Yes. I would get a better education. My dream was to be an officer in the Navy. See, our family is Navy. And uncles and great uncles and all of them, that's, if you go in the service, you'll go in the Navy. If you don't, they look down on you. Well, they don't, but yes, we were a Navy family.
Why didn't you stay, or did you have an option to stay in the Navy for like career or no?
No. At that time, they wanted to get rid of you because there were so many and the war was over. So they were thinning them down. I got home at 710 West Liberty Street up here, and where my wife lived at the time. And I would take her down to Ottaway's Diner. She was 19 years old when I was going with her. I'd take her down to Capitol Theater, walk down on a Saturday night and see the movies. Take her to Ottaway's Diner and get a hamburger and a glass of milk. And I had to have her on a Saturday night back home at 11 o'clock. A little different, isn't it, huh? We never locked our doors here in Rome. I met her on Thrones Pond. Do you know where that is? You don't. Well, you know where the flex place is, the wire mill? Right behind that was Thrones Pond. And I was ice skating there and I met my wife there. Yeah, wonderful girl. This is, I got a picture of us here, right here. That was our 50th wedding anniversary. And this January we'll be married 57 years. I'll be 78 in July 11th. Here's a permit to go into Calcutta to get decoding books and like that. Here's my mother and father that was from Stanwix. You know where the men's club is in Stanwix? Oh, that brown house, 3 houses down, was my mother and father's at that time. Yeah? And I don't know what else I can show you, boys. Whatever. What would you... did you see this that they gave us? That's really nice, isn't it? They gave us a dinner down to the Savoy. Isn't that nice?
Very nice.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to graduation?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I don't know what I'll do with it, yes, but I'm very happy about it. You know, it's a beautiful gesture from them. But I don't know, I'm so busy now I can't do anything else. I work at the funeral parlor when he calls. We go and pick people up and bring them back and prepare them, put them in the casket, dress them, and drive the hearse at the funeral. There's an awful lot more to that part of the works than what people realize. And then this last weekend, I was up at Clayton, up to the Niddler's race, which all the doctors, most of them in Rome go to. They form this Niddler's race to get all the doctors to get their sailboats out early and get them in the water so they'd have more sailing time. And the first Saturday in June, we go up to Clayton, and we were raced down around Carlton Island and back again. The most we ever had was 74 ships, boats, sailboats. No women are allowed whatsoever. The least we ever had, I think, was 37 or 38 sailboats. And we all get out there on a Saturday, and 10 o'clock the race starts, and down around the island, come back. And the firemen up there in Clayton take their fire trucks out of the hall, and they have T-bone steak dinners for us. But there was 327 sailors that was fed there the last Saturday. And it's quite interesting. We go over to the Clayton Yacht Club. A friend of mine was Commodore, and we had beautiful steak dinners over there. That was only $12 for the whole dinner. Beautiful. But it's $20 at the fireman. It's their fundraiser. So, yeah. Now, I will be back up in Clayton. As I said, I'm a fiddler, see? And this is the newsletter we get. And I'm looking forward here now, June the 30th is the 4th celebration up there. And we'll have, everybody will bring their motorhomes and all like that. And we have quite a spread up there. Every Sunday we have a concert up there. Do you know where that is? You know where Florence is? Do you know where Osceola is? You go up to Osceola, and then you keep going right straight up the hills, up to North Osceola. Our place is right across from Cedar Pines Restaurant there. And we have built a beautiful spot up, beautiful place up there. We have a Fiddler's Hall of Fame there, and in it, it has violins in different completion so that you can see how that violin is made. We've got Russian fiddles there, all different kinds. And we built 2 pavilions, 40 feet by 30 feet wide, and a 30-foot stage. It's all undercover, and we laid 1,400 bricks in the courtyard. And we all have the round tables with the umbrellas over them. And we have a truck up there, a hamburger hot dog truck or whatever. You can get stuff there. And now we're completing, if you take your motor home up there, a camper, we have completed a campground up there. And we're installing the water and electricity now. We have the lights, big lights. Different people donated $1,000, different ones. And like with us, we go out and we play. Like we played down Staley High. And Mrs. Moore down there, she gave us $150, the school gave us $150. And we turned it right over to them. We're getting in groups and going out and playing, and we don't charge anybody for our performance. If you care to give a donation, we don't care how big it is or how small it is. If you can't, it's perfectly all right. God gave us this talent, and we're to spread it around and help people in the nursing homes and things like that. We try to do some good deeds. We're so fortunate ourselves to be able to do this stuff that don't take it wrong. I'm no saint, but I think that this is what you should do. Yeah. Yeah.
Before we run out of time, I just want to thank you for coming in and talking, and I thoroughly enjoyed hearing your story.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. Would you like this and this here our adventure? Well, I think that's so nice.